KDTNS.
Sarah, you're going to read the patron thing at the top.
That's what you think. No, I will.
In your face.
It's the second consecutive time you've gotten sassy over reading the...
I don't know why. Like, I can do that anytime.
Sarah, if you don't like doing it, you can tell us.
I like it very much.
Let me see. And you can hear this music, right? This isn't too loud for anyone. Oh wait, no one can hear anything because it's not up. It's mutted.
Not too loud. Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Cool. Ooh, this is gonna require some clicking.
Clickety clackety.
I know. I got to click here and click this and click that.
Oh, the clicking, the incessant clicking. Oh, wow.
Okay.
Maybe it's because Tom's in Texas or something. I'm punching.
I know.
What's up is down.
Maybe he's just settling back in his old collegiate ways.
Perhaps.
Maybe, yeah. That's why we just went right back to the 90s.
Mr. Jones.
Really like that song.
I actually got to have breakfast with my good friend Justin Robert Young at one of my old haunts.
Which was?
Magnolia Cafe on South Congress.
I think I've been there, actually.
The new location, because they opened up only like a year or two before I left.
It sounds familiar, but maybe I'm thinking of the Magnolia somewhere else. I think every town has a Magnolia Cafe.
There's Magnolia Cupcakes in New York. There's a Magnolia something in San Francisco, but I can't remember what.
I think it's a beer house on Haight Street. I think that's what I'm thinking of. Never mind. I've never been to the one in Austin, unless I have.
I mean, you might have.
All of those South by Southwest cafe, like I've gotten the some form of delightful taco / egg thing at lots of places. So.
Yeah, migas, man. I do miss the migas. Magnolia doesn't even have the best migas. Their migas are good, but there are better places if you just like want to get the best migas.
Migas are not hard to make at home. No. You just like cut up your own corn tortillas. It's like it's delicious and requires very little effort, less than an omelet.
Yeah, I would eat them. There's a place in Rockridge in Oakland that makes migas. They don't make them right.
Rockridge.
I don't think I've
Rockridge.
Maybe I have. Certainly wasn't memorable. So yeah, our order of reading is not by any logic. So
it's
it's
weighted though in your own madman sort of way.
And there are reasons for the various assignments, but
right.
Trying to keep us on our toes.
Toes. All right. So do you want to start now since we're all ready?
Yeah, sure.
Why not?
So let me hit record, and then can you see me when I point? Do that, and then you just give yourself a beat and start. So.
Oh, see, I don't look at you. Hold on. I don't look at you guys. Let's see. Maybe
I've seen myself in the mirror. I wouldn't look at me either, but I have to because it's my face.
It's not that. You know what I'll do? I just realized I can make my life so much easier, and I just never thought about it until right now.
Also, Justin, I think I'm just gonna leave our 2-shot up. I'm gonna be lazy.
Do it.
It looks like you're separate. You're actually next to each other. Like that wood frame that's next to Justin looks. Yeah, like if you didn't do that, Tom, it totally looked like you and Justin were sitting side by side.
Well, we're not that far.
Yeah.
All right, Roger. Yes, now I can see you and the rundown. You only need really the left third of that whole window.
Yeah, as long as you can see the yellow red, that's good.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right.
Hey, thanks, mister.
All right, silence.
Daily Tech News Show is powered by you. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support.
This is the Daily Tech News for Thursday, March 8th, 2018. From the Brushwood Studios in Austin, Texas, I'm John Merritt.
And from Studio Feline, I'm Sarah Lane.
Also from the Brushwood Studios in Austin, Texas, I'm Justin Robert Young.
We are very indebted to our producer, Roger Chang, today, who's running things back at the home office. Roger, thank you for holding down the musical fort.
Of course, you're all indebted to me. I remember that.
Musical
I'll
fruit.
remember that part. I'll remember that part.
Yeah, no, man. Thanks for running the board for me while we're out here in Austin, which happens to be during South by Southwest. But I'll be honest, kind of just doing it.
Yeah.
To get and visit Brian, and Justin was coming into town. And
wait a minute, are you like trying to make South by Southwest jealous?
No,
like,
no,
why
no.
are you drawing a line in the sand here?
Honestly, I was just trying to make it clear that if you're at South by Southwest, I won't be there.
So please try to contain your broken heart, South by Southwest.
There's
attendees.
a Diamond Club meetup tonight at Darwin's Pub. And then there, of course, is the Big Night Attack show on Saturday that I'll be
Saturday. So that's where you will be able to see Tom is at 2 p.m. March 10th at the Kung Fu Saloon, a live edition of the Night Attack program for you and yours for free.
Hey, Sarah.
Hey, what?
Should we start with a few tech things you should know?
Might as well. Those anonymous sources talking to Cheddar appear to have been right all along. Snap VP of Engineering Jerry Hunter confirmed that 120 engineers at the company will be laid off in the next few days, which represents about 4% of the workforce.
Oculus Rift headsets stopped working on Wednesday, apparently because Oculus forgot to renew its security certificate. Oculus has issued a software update with valid certificates and promises to provide store credit to affected users.
Yesterday, we incorrectly reported that Microsoft planned to charge $49 to move some copies of Windows 10 from S mode over to full Windows 10 mode. Now, Microsoft didn't actually make that statement. It was reported by The Verge from sources, and in a blog post, Microsoft's Joe Belfiore has clarified if a customer does want to switch out of S mode, they will be able to do so at no charge, regardless of edition. We regret the error.
Good move, Microsoft, I guess. Google announced it's starting a project to get the technology behind accelerated mobile pages, aka AMP, adopted as a web standard. This would allow companies to create fast-loading content without having to rely on Google for any part of it. It's pretty open already, but AMP is Google's thing. So Google has taken some criticism. They're saying, look, let's take the best parts of AMP, just make it an open standard. Google promises any page that matches AMP in performance will be treated the same as an AMP page in Google search. And several standards bodies, including the W3C, will need to weigh in on it before it becomes a standard. And then, of course, browser makers would need to adopt it. All right, let's talk. We got some follow-ups today on the show. Let's start with one from MoviePass.
Yes, we begin follow-up Thursday with MoviePass updating its iOS app to remove quote-unquote unused app location capability, end quote. The company has yet to clarify that it has been collecting location information beyond what it discloses in its terms of service. MoviePass CEO Mitch Lowe recently told an audience, quote, "We watch how you drive from home to the movies. We watch where you go afterwards," end quote. The terms of service state that MoviePass collects location information only when you're buying a ticket for the purpose of locating which theater you are near. Now, call me crazy here, Tom.
Crazy.
But it doesn't, I walked into that one. It doesn't necessarily seem like anything has been cleared up based on the kerfuffle caused by his comments.
Well, certainly not the thing that I want cleared up. I originally thought when this came out, oh, he's saying they've got a plan to do this. Their terms of service prohibit it. So obviously they would change their terms of service if they were doing it.
Yeah.
They need to clear that up. The next day, they didn't clear it up. They said, we'd never sell this data without your permission, which I was like, okay, well, that's good to know.
But you still looking.
Yeah, it doesn't address the issue. And then today, they go and take location tracking out of iOS that they say they weren't using, implying that, in fact, maybe they were tracking you beyond what they say they do in the terms of service. So this sounds pretty bad.
Also, they say MoviePass is only collecting location information if you're buying a ticket for the purpose of locating which theater you're near. No one's ever done that. Let me buy a movie ticket and then see where it is.
Well, that's the way MoviePass works. You have to be near the theater.
Yeah.
And then you buy the ticket and then you go in to the theater. Otherwise, the MoviePass system wouldn't work.
But it's implied that your MoviePass is going to anyway. It's weird. It's worded weirdly.
Yeah,
I wrote that. That's not the quote from the terms of service. So maybe I.
Sorry.
Yeah, basically, we know that they are doing. There's that snapshot. Prove you're here through the app. That's the deal that MoviePass is making with you. What the CEO is saying is that we also know that we could possibly sell advertisements to the Froyo place next door. That is where we know people go afterward. And that is something that you need to list if you want to sell that information. It also fills in a bit of a missing puzzle piece for MoviePass, which is how is this bizarre business structure going to pan out beyond just step 3 profit?
Right. And really, when you think about the fact that Mitch Lowe may have misspoke, that Froyo place next to the movie theater, they don't necessarily know that everyone's going there. It's just nearby, you know? So I think maybe for effect, he made it sound like, ooh, we know what's going on, when really they're like, the probability that someone's going to go to the Froyo place rather than something that's farther away is pretty high.
Spill the beans, Lowe.
Spill them, or we'll never use it. I don't use MoviePass anyway, but it sounds great. A Windows 10 update due next month has not been officially named, but test versions of next fall's update refer to this one as Windows 10 Spring Creator Update. It's very, very fashion week. The Verge reported that Microsoft may have been considering changing the name of the update. Whatever it's called, as expected in early April.
People do get really like oddly excited about the official names of these things. I mean, it makes perfect sense. There was Creators Update, then the Fall Creators Update. Yeah, we got one in the spring. Sure, it's going to be called the Spring Creators Update, and I guess it's kind of interesting. Like, oh, will the next one be called something else, like the Amazing Update or the Windows Rah up? I don't know, like
Summer Solstice Update.
Yeah.
It's
coming in early April. That's what I care about.
Spring Creator sounds like how people have Christmas birthdays.
Wait, is that a 9 months later joke?
Let it sit.
Sounds like it, Tom.
Okay. Yeah, so Spring Creators Update, or maybe called something else. But whatever it is, coming soon. Researchers at MIT published a study looking into how false news and information spreads online via Twitter, as well as the reach of the news. Study relied on data from specific stories that had 95 to 98% agreement with 6 fact-checking organizations. So they use PolitiFact, Snopes, etc. They also did some follow-up studies, though, where they had their own undergraduates fact-check stories just to kind of correct for bias. It's a pretty well-constructed study. Notable findings from the study include users who spread false news had fewer followers and followed fewer people and were less active on Twitter. Falsehoods were 70% more likely to be retweeted. No difference in results between false news retweets data sets with and without bots. You may say, oh, it's just a bunch of bots. They took the bots out of the study. Then they put them back in, and it didn't change the numbers. Although bots did tend to propagate false news a tiny bit faster. False political news had the largest and deepest number of retweets between all the other categories. Authors found correlative data between the novelty of false news and retweets.
All right. Can I just... I think this is all useful information. I don't think that it is the most clarifying information, because when we talk about false news, we need to also find a metric for which we understand that entertaining news or news that confirms a previous bias also spreads really, really fast. And very oftentimes the shortcuts that we take to get there will create a falsehood that we can prove, right? So I don't quite know if this tells the full story.
And I don't think the researchers at MIT necessarily mean it to tell the full story, but people are going to use it for that.
Yes.
So I think it's our job to say, hey, you know what the next study needs to be? Create boring false stories.
Yes.
And see if they spread as fast as these, because most of the false stories that are out there in the wild are meant to be spread. Like, they're designed to be interesting. So compare that to interesting, like strange but true kind of stories with, if you could find it, boring false stories, and see what happens.
Because we can all understand that these kinds of stories are the ones that you retweet and just write SMH on top of, right? Like, and it doesn't necessarily matter whether or not it's real. You're like, oh, geez, this thing again. Let me just...
Right. Huge if true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this is a really interesting piece of research, but I think you need to keep it in context.
All right. Moving on to Amazon and creepy laughter. All right. We talked about this yesterday. Amazon believes that the creepy laughing, those are our words, but it was kind of creepy, that was happening to some Echo users was caused by the device mistakenly hearing Alexa laugh. Amazon changed the laugh command to say, "Can you laugh?" and then her name, to help cut down on the mistakes. A more useful update has actually been rolled out for Echo devices today and third party that use you know who, now including calling up music tracks or playlists based on time past, such as, hey, play that playlist I played last Sunday, or play that workout music I listened to 3 weeks ago. Also works for genres and artists.
Or do that laugh, that creepy laugh you did last night.
Yeah.
Well, so I did that this morning,
Yeah.
and as the company claimed they would do, she no longer responded to the first one, right? Laugh. It was, "Can you laugh?" And she said, "Okay." And then she laughed in her, sort of robot AI sort of way. That was not the original laugh, because Scott found it online and played it yesterday. The original laugh was like a scary, like freak show clown laugh.
Yeah, like that.
This was like just her regular, like, I'm being a funny little robot laugh. So I don't know what's going on here, but I think there's more to the story.
Do we know exactly how many people dealt with this?
I mean, not that many.
Not that many, but more than a few.
Sure. And once you read it, you try it, right? But doesn't this just seem like a story that became a story because it was a story?
Yes.
Well, I think if Amazon would have said these 4 people who posted about this on Reddit are crazy, then it wouldn't have been a story at all. But they were like, yeah, something's up.
Oh, yeah. Look, I think that I don't doubt that this thing happened. This to me speaks to the general nature of how news gets written and how news gets propagated, specifically the idea that this is tailor-made catnip to be spread throughout the interwebs, playing on our old as Mary Shelley fears that the robots are going to kill us. And that technology has a mind of its own, and it will eventually be the end of all of us. Our digital children will smother their parents.
She's listening. She's laughing at us.
Exactly.
She's going to take us down.
These weird things, our technological fears come to life.
I always say, when it comes to privacy, if you don't have anything to hide, why worry?
Yes, you always say that. You're such a recidivist.
Nah, I'm just kidding. I don't. The creepy laughter has ended, everyone. Our long national nightmare is over.
You know what this is? This is a good one for MIT to put in its next story. This spread fast and is true.
Sure. And again, I'm not saying this isn't true. I'm not saying that.
No. But I'm saying this is an example of really weird and interesting, but true. This should spread fast as if it were a false story, even though it's not.
Yeah.
And I think the interesting part to me is, why does the Echo change, and all the implementations of Amazon voice services, over time? Why suddenly did people saying turn on the lights get interpreted frequently as laugh?
Sure.
And that happens. The Echo responds consistently to what I say for months and months and months, and then one day suddenly it changes how it responds. And I'm curious if anybody knows why that happens. If anybody out there actually working with Amazon voice services knows that.
I would assume it's just improving the process, right? Is that you're always feeding new data into it.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why it exists.
Like some kind of machine learning algorithm adaptation that sometimes goes awry, and that's the ones we notice because, oh, gosh. All right. USA Today reports that Flippy the robot was turned off on its first day flipping burgers at Cali Burger because too many people wanted robot-made burgers. It just got overwhelmed. Miso shut the robot down for the weekend, said it will not resume operations until Monday. In the meantime, Miso is analyzing data from those first orders to help improve Flippy and make sure it can fulfill them when it starts back up during lunchtime. It will only operate between 11 and 2 during the week. Roger, you went over there. Is this consistent with what they told you when you showed up at the Cali Burger?
So I just talked to the guy at the counter, and he told me something slightly different. And he essentially said that the health department came in and said, like, this hasn't been approved.
Interesting.
So the way he was saying was that they just needed to evaluate the machine before they would just, let it go, because they haven't. It hasn't been an issue before of having like basically a robot serving people, and they needed to ensure that the health of the public was kept intact, and that's what was told to me. So,
but that's like, I mean, whether that counter employee who doesn't necessarily speak on behalf of Cali Burger is right or not makes sense. Any kind of equipment would need to be approved. The only question is, was it not properly approved ahead of time?
Well, and maybe just the fact that a lot of people were like, let's go get the robot burger, spread the word enough so that, someone from the public health department was like, well, hold on a second. Do we have a permit for the robot?
That kind of press is something that a health code person will pay attention to, and specifically the California health code, which if you've ever been to a restaurant in California, you not only see a lot of prominent signage, but also a lot of like, every restaurant in California has things that will cause you cancer, and they need to have a sign out front or by the register that says that it will. It is a very particular health code, and
it is a very thorough health code. Being the son of restaurateurs, I can assure you, California Health Department is like very stringent and very thorough when they inspect everything to ensure it's up to standards.
Yeah. I mean, there could be something in the code about the number of burgers it can handle that was violated, and have nothing to do with like infection or anything like that. No, there's all kinds of stuff.
I don't think that anybody listening should think that the machine is necessarily unsafe, even if a health code person is
health
involved.
Code doesn't necessarily mean that. It means, you didn't dot an I and cross a T more often than not.
Or we have no idea about this, and therefore you cannot have it until we at least know what the hot ham water this thing does.
Score one for humans.
Maybe it had nothing to do with Flippy, and it was just that hot ham water.
You got to keep it away.
Not proper temperature.
Wait, is that like the hot dog water you get at the cart?
It could be the number of people too. It may be a health code violation to be like, hey, you got too many people in here. Like fire, that's fire code, I guess, not health code. But I don't know. There's all kinds of possibilities. I also don't doubt that Miso Robotics is right. They're like, we didn't expect this many people. That's too much we got to make sure this robot is up to speed.
Why?
So that it can meet all the code. But
why isn't that robot wearing a hairnet?
Because it doesn't have any hair.
Yeah,
I mean, one would assume the robot was supposed to work around the clock because it's a robot and not a human that has, that gets tired and has to get off their feet every once in a while. So the whole thing of like, hey, we didn't know everybody would like the robot so much is sort of a thin excuse.
I will restate a phrase my old boss at the Exploratorium Cafe used to tell me. If you have time to lean, you have time to clean.
If you have time to update, you've got time to flip.
You can kind of lean into the mop, lean and clean,
Yeah.
What? The burger wasn't leaning. No one was ever accusing Flippy
Look,
of leaning.
I could understand if you are Miso and you are running this burger thing, that the last thing that you want is on day one, the Flippy burger broke. The Flippy machine broke. You want to protect the franchise. Axios is reporting that FanDuel, the site for daily fantasy sports wagering, is looking to go public via a merger with publicly held and traded Platinum Edge Eagle Acquisition Corp.
Platinum Eagle, I think.
Sorry, Platinum Eagle Acquisition Corp. Sorry.
It's just a great name.
This comes as the Supreme Court is waiting to decide on a case that could overturn a ban on sports betting in all but 4 states. FanDuel has previously raised money from Comcast, NBC Sports, and the NBA, which proactively said last month that it would seek to earn a percentage of every bet made on its games should sports betting become legal. So this actually dovetailed with another story that is in the news today, which is that Ease, the marijuana delivery service that is operating in California right now, where recreational marijuana is legal, is also hiring people to look to expand outside of the state. It seems like tech and these vice industries that are coming into the mainstream, that there's a new boom for that.
So what you're saying is we may be on the brink of a vice invasion of the internet legally. Not darknet stuff, but like that edge stuff.
Well, look, like we are looking at a new gold rush. There are new $1 billion with a B industries that are going to come from dark money to regulated money in the mainstream. And unsurprisingly, you have a lot of these companies that are legitimate companies that have either staked out their claim, like Ease did with medical marijuana delivery, and FanDuel did with daily fantasy sports wagering, which is always the funniest thing when they show these advertisements. Anybody who watches sports has seen them a million times, where it's like, oh, all these games are really interesting to me now that I've made a daily fantasy sports team based on it, which is basically just the allure of gambling. And now you would think that FanDuel could slide very easily into a nationwide sports betting program should that become available.
So, but FanDuel is legal right now.
It is legal for daily fantasy sports. That is not betting.
And they don't do betting.
They don't do betting. They do. I would like to join this daily fantasy sports contest where I then pick players and their performance determines whether or not I win the league of my daily fantasy sports. This is very much a hole in a sheet for sports betting, but we might do away with that should sports betting become legal.
So I guess I'm asking that question because I think some people think FanDuel is illegal or semi-illegal or
no, it has faced regulatory pressures from certain states, New York state being probably the first among equals, and it was looking to merge with a competing DraftKings, a competing service, and then that was shot down because it would have created a monopoly in the daily fantasy sports realm because nobody else has gotten in on it.
I do
want to point out, so it is illegal in some states. It is not legal everywhere. It is illegal in some states.
Oh, so but then you're just prevented from signing up honestly with an account. They try to block you from signing up at that point. Okay. Yeah. So maybe not legal in your state, but then FanDuel will try not to let you sign up for it. So
and even if this becomes if the Supreme Court does rule in favor of this case that was brought by the state of New Jersey to overturn a ban on sports betting, then even then there are some states that for which the laws will not be overturned.
So the interesting thing here is that they seem to be getting financial support, which would imply that the people with the money believe that they'll do well. And one of the best ways they could do better than they are already is if the gambling laws were loosened up and they could do more actual straight on gambling versus the fantasy workaround.
Absolutely. Look, nobody wants to be the first one through the door on this because the first person through the door gets shot. However, everybody wants to be there as soon as they are all elbowing each other, because as soon as this opens up and you can either look at pot delivery or you can look at sports betting, two things that were and are illegal now, as soon as the rules really open up, oh boy, are we going to get big businesses that flood in here and everybody wants mind share.
And there's going to be a big debate. It's going to raise a big debate about online gambling again, which may or may not be what they want.
Absolutely. But also the other thing, just to wrap this up, again, don't sleep on the idea that the NBA has come out. The commissioner, Adam Silver, has said that in a world where sports betting is legal, the NBA wants to impose the fact that they get a cut of each and every bet made. They have put money into FanDuel. So if they can say, hey, look, there's an app that we're going to encourage all of our fans to use to bet on games, and we get a cut of it, this is a gigantic revenue stream that has opened up for professional sports.
The ghost of Joe Jackson is out there saying no, or
say it ain't so, or do.
I meant the musician, price. Of course. Not the baseball player. Hey, folks, if you want to get all tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to check out Daily Tech Headlines at dailytechheadlines.com. Also available on the Amazon Echo, the Google Home, and as a good old-fashioned podcast on Anchor or in your RSS reader of choice at dailytechheadlines.com. So, Sarah, even though I'm in Austin, the mailbag is still in California.
The mailbag is omnipresent, Tom, but I luckily have
Tom, the mailbag was in your heart the whole time.
It's been in your heart the entire time. Have you ever seen The Wizard of Oz? It's exactly like that. So Dave wrote in and said, hey guys, with regards to your discussion about word lens, this is from a couple of days ago, and traveling. In my many travels to China and some other countries, Google Translate is critical and useful, regardless of the operating system. It has a camera feature for reading signs. Most useful to me is putting information in to communicate, let's say, with drivers of hired cars and taxis. Very few of them, at least in my experience, speak a second language, including my own, which actually led me to remember that when WordLens first came out, it was like this novelty, like something in another language. Ooh, look, it'll change back to your language. Then it got bundled into Google Translate because that makes sense, right? You're translating something that's in another language. Lens itself is now a separate product.
What's so funny about this is these are exactly the examples of why I didn't use or where I didn't use Lens when I thought I would. And so I'm glad Dave's out there like, no, man, I totally use that because we just had addresses written down to hand to drivers in Japan, not China, but I think it's fairly similar for this example. And I never did need to read street signs with it.
Oh man, I use the heck out of Google Translate with that word lens feature all throughout my trip through Japan. Not only street signs, but also bidet buttons that I did not know what they read until I used my word lens. And boy, was it an uncomfortable 30 seconds before I figured out that I could do that. So,
speaking of Japan, I do remember that although their metro system is vast and wonderful, that was another place where sometimes I'd be like, "Ooh, I really don't have any English options," and like I'm late and I don't know what I'm looking at.
Yeah. So
that would have been helpful.
My experience was not representative. It sounds like this is pretty useful.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't know. It really facilitated some of my most magical moments when I was in Japan, where I was, at bars with guys that we had a total language barrier. We could barely speak each other's language, and yet we had a great time just going back and forth on Google Translate.
Fantastic. Well, thanks to all those who participate in our subreddit. You could submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com and facebook.com/groups/Daily Tech News Show is hopping as well.
Justin Robert Young, you and Tom get to hang out later tonight. What else do you have going on during South by Southwest?
Well, again, folks, you can come on down to the Night Attack live show. That is Saturday at the Kung Fu Saloon, 2 p.m. on March 10th, the Saturday of South by Southwest Interactive. Always a blast. I know that we have a ton of Diamond Club people already coming in from all over the world to come see the show on Saturday, and we would love to see you there. So head on over to the Kung Fu Saloon on March 10th, 2 p.m. is the live show. Day show. That means day drinking, ladies and gentlemen, and it is the best place in Austin to do it.
Doesn't have to be alcoholic.
No, doesn't have to. Just hydrate. Just get a couple pints of water in your in your system.
I love the term day drinking because it's like it's not nighttime. We're day drinking. Sun's out.
Yeah. A friend of mine always used to refer to it as not day drinking, but defying the sun. And that's how I like to think of it, is giving the sun the old what for.
Whether it's alcoholic or not.
No. Yeah. It's judging you and trying to dehydrate.
Perhaps a cool lemonade.
Sure. A refreshing virgin mint julep.
That's right.
Hard lemonade.
Arnold Palmer.
Iced tea julep. However you like it. We hope you like us and get some value out of the show. We operate on the value for value model at dailytechnewsshow.com/support. You can find the different ways to support us. Patreon is our main way. And our goal every month is to get at least one, if not many more patrons than last month. So please jump on board. It's only $1 a month at the entry point. You can afford that. If you can't, we understand. But if you can, patreon.com/DTNS. Don't forget also to check out the DTNS store. We got some new products that are in the works too. So keep your eyes on that. It's dailytechnewsshow.com/store.
Hey, if you want to get a hold of us, we'll read it. We promise. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com is our email address. We're also live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 21:30 UTC. Find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live.
We'll be back tomorrow with our guest, Brian Brushwood. Brian Brushwood is our guest because we're in his studio, so it makes sense. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Frog Pants Network. Get more shows like this at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Good show. Good show, everybody.
Hopes you've enjoyed this program.
Oh, well, Brian's not.
No, yeah.
Couldn't do the live
Wasn't
one.
Schwed on the show. Wasn't Schwed on the show last week? I know. Can we
Yeah.
please put a cap on this? We don't want it getting out.
It is Hat Friday.
Is it?
Could put a cap right on it. All right. Since Roger is actually producing the show or editing and publishing the show, I will handle the titles. Roger, is that cool?
Sure. That knock yourselves out.
Where do I go
Literally
again?
knock yourselves out. Just take a couple of big hammers.
What's the name of the site?
Showbot.
.chatroom.net, right?
Chat realm.
Chatroom.showbot.tv.
Chat realm. Show.
This is what happens, Roger. You're showing how much you're worth right now.
Yeah,
He's just stumbling around like Mr. Magoo.
Channel
You
equals.
know, that is such an odd reference because I know who Mr.
Nope.
Magoo is, but I'm on that area of time where they were still showing those cartoons when I was growing up.
Oh, I remember seeing a ton of Mr. Magoo stuff. Well, I'll just look over here.
Why isn't that robot wearing a hairnet?
DTNS.showbot.tv also.
I like real facts about fake news. Slow truth is pretty good too.
So true. Shout out to all my spring creators out there.
I hear me. I hear me. Hear ye, hear me.
Roger's doing it. He's editing. Your robot's papers are not in order. I was about to say I like this next one, but it's one I submitted myself in the chat room, so it was unfair.
Well, what was it?
Flippy was not programmed to flip. Roger is musical. Everyone is indebted to Roger.
That's a fact, though.
It's true.
That's not even a title. That's just a.
Just a
That's just a
fact.
life fact.
That one's gonna spread like false news because it's true. Please. Let's see. Amp the Web's not bad. Wow, we got a lot of title suggestions. This is great, you guys.
Clamtastic.
What was it?
It's clamtastic.
When did we talk about clams?
Yeah.
I actually want clam chowder for some reason.
Mm.
You guys are
Clam
talking
chowder is always
about
good.
beer, and for some reason, every time people talk about beer, I want clam chowder.
You want you want clam chowder with your beer.
Clam
Okay.
chowder.
Clam
I
chowder.
don't like beer. I just like clam chowder, but I associate the two.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I
I
think
like
it's
real facts
because-
about fake news, actually.
That's a good one.
I do not associate beer and clam chowder together.
No, I think a beer is maybe in like a beer and cheese soup, maybe. Like like there already is a beer soup.
I don't
Wait,
know.
Your
I think maybe it's because
beer in a bowl.
No. You never had a beer and cheese soup?
no, I've never had beer soup.
I've had a cheese like soup with beer in it. I never heard it called beer and cheese soup, but it is.
Beer, cheese.
I mean, it makes sense to call it that.
Sounds
I
good.
don't remember it ever being called that.
I don't think I've ever had soup with beer in it, unless I didn't know.
Beer and cheddar or beer cheese soup. Apparently, it's a Wisconsin delicacy.
Well, of course it is.
Oh, shocker!
It also has
love
Figured out how
both
to
of
put
them.
beer and soup.
Vince Lombardi in it if it's properly made.
Well, I'll tell you what. Maybe he would be able to choose a name of the episode because he would be living in Titletown.
Oh, didn't you pick real facts about fake
Real
news?
facts about fake news. That's the title.
I actually was in Wisconsin for a wedding last year in Milwaukee, and
Welsh rarebit. That's what I've heard cheese and beer soup called because it's cheese and beer. Yeah.
it was a great place. We went to the world's oldest bowling alley.
Wait a second.
How is it the world's oldest? Doesn't
That sounds
Maybe
dramatic.
it was America's.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it was. Sorry,
Yeah.
my American exceptionalism is showing.
Dirty Yankee.
But no, America's oldest bowling alley. It was great. It was although it probably helped to more severely injure my back.
Is that bar in Jack London Square still around? The one that claims to be America's oldest continuous bar, which I can't believe is true.
Oh.
West Coast, but
Yes. It's like a crap hole, right?
yeah. Well, it's like it's not.
I
even
always
level.
forget it, but I bring people there all the
It's
time.
not level inside because it's so old.
Is it the one with the urinals? With the urinal at the bar?
Yes.
All right, hold on. Let me see if I can find the name of it.
Sounds
It's
so
one of my
inviting.
And it's almost too inviting.
Sounds like a public park.
Well, it dates back to the time when, only men.
Oh, no.
really went to bars.
We're thinking of two different bars.
Okay.
We're thinking of two different bars. There's one bar that is literally on the dock, right? Or like you can throw a rock and hit water.
Yeah.
And that is tilted.
Yeah, that's the tilted one. Okay.
And then there's another one that is like a for real still like that's a little almost like touristy.
Mm-hmm.
Merchants is the one I'm thinking of. That's a definite crap hole bar, but it has non-functioning now, but still in existence, urinal at the bottom of the bar. So theoretically, you at one point could have just whipped it out and started peeing right next to your pal and never left the bar.
Well, except isn't that a bit dangerous? Like,
oh, it is
having a
highly,
non-functional,
hilariously unsanitary as a concept.
Well, also just like having it there, doesn't that invite someone to abuse the privilege?
I think
Or
it's more
ignore it.
you are trusted to
I suppose decorum will,
yeah. You can't
even in
just
a bar.
yank out your wang and
Wow. Okay. True.
the great place.
Sorry, there's just certain things I'm gonna laugh at. That's one of them.
And Wang is one of them.
No, so the one, yeah, I was confusing the two as well. But the one I was originally thinking of that claimed the oldest continuous bar is the one with the uneven.
Heinold's First and Last Chance.
You know what? This needs to happen.
Jack London's Rendezvous, as it's called.
Yeah, because Jack London used to drink there,
Yeah.
supposedly,
And
and I
the
don't.
inspiration for scenes in Oakland Riders novels Call of the Wild and The
Mhm.
Seawolf.
It's a pretty great little tour. I mean, it's a tourist attraction for sure, but it's a pretty great little one.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. No, this is it. The bar slanted
This is the
after the 1906 earthquake.
And this is the one that is not have a urinal at the bar. In case you
No,
were,
that's
in case you
Merchants.
thought that was
That's
distasteful,
Merchants.
you can go to the slanted bar and not worry about it.
I will reveal my deep knowledge of the crappiest bars in Oakland. Or as I like to call it, working at a bar, a pay-as-you-go communal workspace.
Yeah. Well, it's true at coffee shops too, right?
Yeah. I don't like the coffee shops.
You mean the coffee
No beer.
and the no beer?
Yeah.
Well, my favorite is an Austin institution that is long gone since the 90s. So come at me, Roger. But it's called...
Date yourself, man. You're just dating yourself.
It was called Les Amis, and they served coffee and beer and French peasant food, basically.
Wait, so it's called Lazy Me?
Les Amis.
Les Amis.
Lesamis.
My friends.
It was so
Les Amis.
good. Such a great place because you would just sit there all day, order beer or coffee or both, switch from one to the other or back again. It was lovely. And now it's a Starbucks.
Ah.
I have a brick from when they tore down Les Amis and built the Starbucks.
Oh, keep Austin weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, we hear Dallas is nice.
78751 forever.
Yeah, don't move here.
Down
to Austin.
Austin's better than North Austin because it like starts to eat itself.
No, East Austin. That's where
East Austin's now better than all of them.
Yeah, no, East Austin's where all the cool stuff is going now.
Yeah, I dated myself by touting South Austin. I'm obviously behind the times.
What is happening?
Well, folks.
Well, here we are.
Sarah, when's the last time that you came down to South by?
I did not go the last two. I was there in 2015.
2015.
That's the last time I went. So it's been a while.
It's not the same as when I first started going. That was like when, like,
when I was there in 2015, I was working at TechCrunch, so I was doing shoots. And so there was plenty of stuff to do, but there are also a lot of people that I don't see the rest of the year, and from the East Coast or whatever. So there was a lot of nighttime activities, and I just found that it had been bothering me for years, and that just like all the lines were too long for everything. The fire marshal, there was always these like capacity issues everywhere because there were just sort of too many people trying to go to all the cool places. And I was like, I've had it. I spent a lot of time in my hotel room going to bed early. And so I just kind of, I don't know, I felt burned out on the whole thing, but I also saw it grow into something that it was very different from when I started. So I think I have that old, like, get off my lawn, bring me back to the old show kind of thing.
What I really liked and has really only once, probably in the past 5 years, had this glimmer of was South by Southwest was kind of the early adopter paradise. And you had like a bunch of different apps and services and social media things and everything. And like it kind of felt like the narratives for the tech year would kind of be started at and
well, that was also, there was a time where the sort of like Venn diagram overlapped really nicely with a lot of these new social mobile apps. That, nobody had ever heard of before. So it's like, I mean, the idea that an app would now launch at South by and become, the darling of the, tech/nerd world is like, it's not really happening anymore. But for a few years, that was exactly what it was.
It was so fun to have a bunch of these crappy apps, and everybody acts like this crappy app is the coolest thing on the planet. And sometimes they are, and it's like sometimes they're Twitter. 9 times out of 10, they're something dumb. And
the year that Twitter won South by Southwest was the year I enjoyed it the most.
Yeah,
but it wasn't because of that. And I feel like Twitter benefited from the fact that there were a lot of really interesting people doing interesting things in Austin, and everyone's like, hey, have you tried this Twitter thing? Let's try this Twitter thing.
Yeah.
And it spread. And then every year after that, people thought, oh, well, now we can capture that. But those people stopped coming to South by Southwest, and a new, more marketing oriented crowd started to come in. And I think that's why that faded away. You just didn't have the same. Like,
now it is kind of the battle of the brands.
Yeah.
Right. And that's sort of what it is. And look, there's some cool stuff. You're walking down the street and all of a sudden you see a gigantic American Gods buffalo, or, there's
a whole Westworld thing here this year, apparently.
Yeah. Like, and so that stuff is really cool. The installations are rad. Like from an artistic perspective, it's cooler than it's ever been. Just walking around.
And
but
the film part of it's always been cool. It's been cool forever.
Yeah.
And it just keeps getting better.
The only thing that sucks is like, I just want more crappy apps, man. Make more crappy apps so I can act like your crappy app is the coolest thing on earth.
Where's Crappy AppCon?
That's what I want. Just make, even if it's just hacked together in 5 minutes, man, give me some crappy social media.
Start the California Republic AppCon.
and it'll all be crappy apps, and we'll hold it adjunct to Spectacle Fest.
Do we have to call them crappy apps? Because that sounds like a toilet app.
No, I mean, look, I genuinely, what I enjoyed was well, no, I just enjoyed giving apps that I would have no interest in trying.
We can do
a good spin because there was like this captured this held hostage community of people that are early adapters that like to use it, that would all give this one thing a really fair shake.
Sure. Yeah, when Foursquare launched, it was like, okay, now we all have to run over here because like I've seen 10 or more people check in, and then it's like Foursquare's not working, Foursquare's down. Oh my god, well, never know where anyone is anymore.
At our first annual California Republic AppCon, we will give a lifetime achievement award to Meerkat.
Well, because that was the last one that I loved, was when Meerkat launched here, or launched before, but it really caught on here. And all of a sudden you realize like, oh, wow, like phones and connections are so much better, that these things that had launched before, like Quick and stuff like that, now all of a sudden this is really viable. Like this is something that matters. And that was really awesome. And that was 3 years ago. And now nobody.
Yeah. I do remember going back once we finally got access to like the history of our tweets whenever that feature became something that we could do. I went back, and because I signed up for Twitter like right before I went to South by for the first time, you know, so it's like 2007 and or 2008 or, you know, thereabouts. And it's like the tweets are so weird where I'm like, herdy her, like hashtag red eye fly, you know, but it's like I realized what I was doing because it was like we were all talking in code back then because we knew that like only the nerds were on Twitter, and like it was my way of saying like that I was at some, you know, like nightclub or whatever. But like that's the way it was for some time. It's like if I were to, I mean, sure, maybe we all send a cryptic tweet here and there where if it's like you're watching the Oscars, and if someone's not watching the Oscars, they're not going to get it.
Yeah.
But very rarely am I trying to confuse anyone by tweeting these days, you know?
Yeah.
It's just that like you realize your audience is totally broader, and it's all about engagement and not about like some secret, you know, inside joke club thing.
I miss it though, right? Don't
I
you?
do. I miss it too. I remember.
I'm gonna tweet Hardy Har at some point, and none of y'all are gonna know. I'll just text Sarah and let her know what's happening.
I did not do anything on March 8th, 2007. But I did on March 9th, 2007, tweet twice, waiting for freaking Nicole C to show up so I can go to eat breakfast.
Yeah, you sound like you were a little hangry that day.
Sitting in my hotel room, looking at Congress Avenue in Austin, waiting for South by Southwest to begin.
Where do you go for this?
You have to download your archive, and then it gives you a little spreadsheet.
Oh.
Any final words to our YouTube streamers, viewing audience, streaming video viewing audience?
Only that I give you my very best.
Likewise.
Here's to you and yours.
Cheers.
Sorry, I actually had it left on Tom and Justin by accident. So while you were talking, Sarah, it was just Tom and Justin's face. I apologize.
Well, they could still hear me. I feel that my message, I believe I
the
speak
visual domain
when I say best wishes to all.
And to all, we'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.
See ya. Bye.